Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the New South Wales Small Business Innovation Research Program webinar. My name is Lewis Bennett. I'm a Senior Project Officer at the Office of the Chief Scientist and Engineer. I'd like to begin today by acknowledging that today we meet on many different Aboriginal lands. I myself am joining the meeting on the traditional land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and emerging. Just some housekeeping before we start. Today's webinar will consist of a 10-minute overview of the SBIR program, followed by a presentation from the Challenge Agency, and we'll finish with roughly 30 minutes of question time. Today's webinar is recorded and will be available on the New South Wales SBIR website in the coming days. If you'd like to ask a question during the webinar, please type it in the chat, the Q&A box at the right hand of your screen. Today's webinar will focus on the challenge from the Office of Energy and Climate Change involving recycled content verification. We will hold a Q&A session right after their challenge presentation. We'll be answering as many of your questions as we can during the Q&A session. If we don't have time to get to all the questions live during the webinar, we will answer any remaining questions and we'll include the responses in the transcript available on the website. Please note that closed captions are available if you click the CC box at the right-hand bottom corner of your screen. I will now run through the details of the SBIR program before we discuss the specific SBIR challenge for today's webinar. At the end of today's session, there will be an opportunity to ask questions again about the SBIR program and the specific challenge. Apologies. Has the slide progressed to the next screen? Okay, thank you. We had some technical difficulties earlier. The SBIR program is managed by the Office of the Chief Scientist and Engineer. This office has 4 distinct functions. We produce evidence-based scientific advice to the New South Wales Government on a range of challenges. We support New South Wales research, attracting research talent and infrastructure through the managing of the Research Attraction and Acceleration Program. We promote science outreach and education for both students and the general public and work alongside academia, government and industry to drive the commercialisation of research excellence in New South Wales. The New South Wales Small Business Innovation and Research Program is an initiative of the New South Wales Government that provides competitive grants to small and medium-sized enterprises to find and commercialise innovative solutions to well-defined problems for New South Wales government agencies. The 2020-22 SBIR program will provide up to $12 million in grants to New South Wales SMEs to solve the 7 New South Wales government challenges. The establishment of the SBIR program was recommended as a priority action of the Turning Ideas into Jobs, Accelerating Research and Development in New South Wales Action Plan. The action plan was developed by the Accelerating R&D in New South Wales Advisory Council, a group of leaders with experience in research, the innovation ecosystem, and government policy. The New South Wales SBIR program is currently in its 2nd year and is modelled on similar successful Australian and international examples, including the Commonwealth Business Research and Innovation Initiative, the SBIR program in the United States, and the Small Business Research Initiative in the United Kingdom. The SBIR program is an important element of the New South Wales Government's approach to increase innovation and prosperity in New South Wales. Innovation generates the products and services crucial for future jobs and industries. Research and development undertaken in business and research organisations are a major source of innovation and should be supported for the whole community and economy to thrive. The SBIR program's primary objective is to tap into New South Wales small to medium enterprises R&D to address the needs of the New South Wales government and with the aim of procuring those solutions. Other benefits of this problem include an increase in innovation within government and increased economic development throughout New South Wales. This year, there are 7 SBIR challenges. Proposed solutions must address one of these 7, and each challenge describes a current New South Wales government agency problem requiring an innovative solution. The challenges are as follows: waste recovery and management from HealthShare New South Wales, biosecurity surveillance from the Department of Primary Industries, cultural and linguistic diversity services from New South Wales Health, recycled content verification from the Office of Energy and Climate Change, school zone alerting system challenge from Transport for New South Wales, and urban heat island remediation from Greater Sydney Cities Commission, and finally, non-invasive vital sign monitoring from Corrective Services. Later in the seminar, we will discuss today's challenge, recycled content verification, in more detail. The benefits of the SBIR program for participating SMEs include up to $1.1 million in grant funding to develop and commercialise a new technology or service. They get to work alongside the New South Wales Government to pilot and test solutions with the potential of the New South Wales Government procuring these successful solutions at the end. The development and retention of intellectual property rights and the right to sell and commercialise these solutions, both domestically and globally. There are also benefits for the New South Wales Government, which include an access to innovative solutions to policy and service delivery challenges, insights into different problem-solving approaches through working directly with SMEs, and a sustainable ongoing job creation mechanism. Our measures of success then for the SBIR program are more SMEs established and growing their R&D activities and jobs in New South Wales. New South Wales SMEs translate more ideas into innovative products and services, and the New South Wales government agencies being able to deliver better services in New South Wales to the New South Wales community by using those innovative solutions. The SBIR program has 3 phases. The first is a feasibility study. SMEs will submit a proposal to solve one of the 7 SBIR challenges, and these proposals are then assessed, first against each challenge, then highlighting proposals that are particularly promising, with each successful applicant receiving a grant of up to $100,000 to conduct a feasibility study over a period of 3 months. This is where the SME is showcasing their solution and their ability to meet this challenge. Our aim is that we will have 2 SMEs completing this feasibility study for each challenge, and then at least one will continue on to the next phase, the proof of concept. For the proof of concept phase, successful grantees for the first phase will be invited to apply for this second phase, and they will then receive successful applicants to the proof of concept phase will receive $1 million to develop a proof of concept over a period of up to 15 months. The final phase is procurement, which is that the New South Wales government agencies will consider purchasing successful solutions. As SBIR participants complete their feasibility studies and proofs of concept, the New South Wales Government Agency and the SBIR team will work closely with them to provide advice and input and to help them develop their solutions. This occurs via both formally monthly check-ins and updates with all participants, and also informal interactions and assistance. Post-SBIR, participants are encouraged to take their solutions to other customers and markets. The challenges have been specifically chosen so that they encourage solutions that not only the New South Wales Government would consider procuring, but also solutions that would be that could be commercialised and sold to customers beyond New South Wales. Applicants must meet the 5 eligibility criteria, which include having an ABN, being a small to medium organisation with less than 200 full-time employees, and being headquartered or conducting the majority of business within New South Wales. When we say IP, we don't mean that you need to formally hold this IP through a patent, but we want to make sure that you aren't violating someone else's IP. If you're using your technology, whether patented or not, that's fine. If you're using someone else's technology, that's fine if you have a license or the right to commercialise that IP. For more information and to view the full eligibility criteria, please refer to the 2022 New South Wales SBIR Program guidelines available on the SBIR website. Applications for the feasibility study, the first phase, will be evaluated against the following 3 overarching criteria. The first is solution details. Describe your proposed solution and how it addresses the challenge. Describe your solution's current technical readiness and what level you hope to achieve during the study. Additionally, what makes your solution more innovative and superior to what is currently on the market. The second is commercial details. Describe your commercial potential, the commercial potential for your product, and your plan for commercialization, including adoption and scaling of your product and service. The priority is first on meeting the needs of the government challenge, and then on wider market opportunities. Additionally, please identify potential commercialization barriers and how these might be mitigated. And finally, for delivery, we want to know, does your company and project team have the appropriate skills and experience, and do you have access to the equipment, technology, infrastructure, and financial resources needed to carry out this project? At this stage, you'll be asked to provide a basic project plan, including a budget, risk management plan, and performance measures. We also ask applicants to submit some supporting materials, specifically a video presentation no longer than 3 minutes and a project budget. Applicants may also be required to provide profit and loss statements and balance sheets from the last 2 years. Eligible applicants will be assessed by both New South Wales Government agency that proposed the challenge and an independent panel of experts with experience in business development, commercialization, venture capital, and entrepreneurship. In terms of writing the application, we would recommend avoiding the use of overly technical and scientific terms, as the application will be assessed by a wide audience, including non-technical and non-commercial people. There should be a focus on meeting the needs of the challenge, and please include any details or data that can really help to bolster and support your claim. Each question in the application form states which assessment criteria it is being scored against. Try to respond as directly and succinctly to each question asked. There is a word limit, but try to fully use this word limit to make the strongest possible case for your solution. And finally, any additional documentation that's referenced throughout, such as if you have a detailed business plan, please ensure that that's clearly labelled when it's attached to the form. Please read the 2022 New South Wales SBIR Program guidelines before applying. The guidelines set out the SBIR program process and requirements in detail, including the eligibility and assessment criteria, how we assess applications, how we notify applicants and enter into grant agreements with grantees, how we monitor and evaluate performance, and the responsibilities and expectations in relation to this opportunity. You may also wish to consult the New South Wales SBIR FAQs available on our website. When you're ready to apply, you can find the online application form on our website. Applications will close at 9:59 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, the 28th of February, 2023. Thank you very much. I will now hand over to Joanna from the Office of Energy and Climate Change to discuss their challenge about recycled content verification. Thank you.
Thanks, Lewis, and thanks everyone for making the time to be here today. And thanks for your interest in this challenge. I'm Joanne Almeida. I'm the acting unit head of the Circular Economy Markets team at the Office of Energy and Climate Change. We are part of New South Wales Treasury, of the Treasury cluster. Before I go ahead, I would just like to acknowledge that we're all dialing in from Aboriginal land and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which I'm speaking, the Darug and Gundungurra people, and pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. I would just like to give a bit of just a quick policy backdrop to this challenge, to locate us, to situate us on the areas that New South Wales government is currently focused. In July or June, I should know this, but usually the month escapes me, 2021, New South Wales government launched the Waste and Sustainable Materials Strategy 2041. And this is a document that's guiding our first deliberate steps into the transition to a circular economy in the state. And in parallel with this policy, and sometimes in connection with it as well, there's a whole, what I like to call an ecosystem of policies and programs that further enable this transition. One of the things that is quite groundbreaking in the New South Wales Waste and Sustainable Materials Strategy is that acknowledgement that with the circular economy, we can also bolster our decarbonisation efforts. So there's clear links and a lot of synergies with the New South Wales Net Zero Plan and our net zero targets. And there's a suite of programs that work on different aspects of the economy and different stakeholders, from private organisations to other government agencies, to help them take initiatives and implement measures that will further enhance the transition. In addition, there are other policy documents across government, for even strategic planning documents, for example, like the Hunter Regional Plan and the SAPS, the Parks SAP Master Plan. These documents also embed circular economy principles in them, as well as the New South Wales Water Strategy and the Future of Transport Strategy. When we zoom into this issue of recycled content, I guess our two key references are the 2018 National Waste Policy and the subsequent action plan in 2019. And this sets a target to significantly increase the use of recycled content by government and industry. The way we operationalize this national target into New South Wales is in the Waste and Sustainable Materials Strategy. New South Wales government has committed for its own government departments to actively and increasingly procure products that contain recycled content on an if not, why not basis. So if there isn't a case such as unavailability of a suitable product, or if it doesn't completely change the cost profile of the project, things like that around feasibility and implementability, government agencies have committed to increase their procurement of recycled content. We are implementing and rolling out this mandate through a program that my team is leading, that basically wants to flex this really big and strong muscle of the whole of New South Wales government procurement power. And so we're creating a demand that will hopefully create markets for target materials that come from some of our most problematic waste sources. So we've got these waste types, which we've identified being plastics, paper and cardboard, tires, organics and coal ash, and then kind of a tier 2, but also of interest, textiles and glass. And through this program and through this procurement power, we want to increase the procurement of products that contain recycled content out of these materials. So the goal is that this program will complement well-functioning recycle markets. So we're working on the supply and the demand side simultaneously. And there's a suite of government initiatives and programs that relate to this that ensure that infrastructure so that the recycled content can be supplied to market, to manufacturers, that it's there and that it's functioning. And we want to, as much as possible, stimulate higher possible orders of use for the material. This means, we want to ensure, for example, that it can be recycled again, and that it's high economic value. Maybe it leads to emission reductions in the project or the procurement. So we're looking at having a series of co-benefits as well. In terms of what we're actually delivering, and now we're getting closer to why we getting closer and closer to why we launched this challenge with Oxy. Is we're delivering a circular innovation fund, which is a $13 million fund that will help innovation and piloting of these new solutions using recycled content. Because government agencies have committed through this program to report on how much more recycled content they're procuring, we will develop a framework to do this reporting. So it's kind of an internal thing. We want to send a strong signal to the market of the size of the opportunity. So we're also developing a pipeline of government project demand. And we are creating a directory of suppliers for these materials. I see the questions popping up in the chat, and I know that we'll get there in a second. So yeah, but keep asking away. So I said procurement a lot because this is basically the environment that we're encountering ourselves in with this challenge, right? I've just, for your reference, I just put here the New South Wales best practice procurement model. And if you look at it closely, you can basically break it down in a few steps. There's a need that is identified, something that needs to be, added to what the South Wales government already has or owns or has built. Then you need to understand the market, what's available, identify your options, and how they can be supplied, and what's the supplier dynamics, and then selecting the supplier. So it's like. In very simplistic terms, you kind of do the same process when you decide that you need to buy a T-shirt, and then you look at, you decided I want a cotton T-shirt. What kind of suppliers are there? Where can I buy it? Maybe you have additional criteria. It needs to be a certain color. It's a plain tee or a graphic tee. It needs to be organic cotton. And once you have those criteria down, you trust that when you approach the market to make your purchase, that you're given reliable information that reflects the product that you're acquiring. So in order to bolster the procurement of products with recycled content and to be able to index those products and those suppliers into a directory for government agencies to use, we need to find products, and those products need to have associated reliable information on the quantity of recycled content and where it's coming from. Because it's not only the recycled content, but in New South Wales, we're particularly interested in having an impact on local recycled industries, as opposed to, for example, increasing the purchase of the procurement of recycled content that when the recycled content comes from overseas, which is very common. So why are we here today? Let's just recap before we go to the challenge itself. There's current policies at the national and the state level, and even interstate. There's kind of a replication of this same sort of initiative. And Victoria is a very good example, if you know the scene there. That all these policies and programs that are generating push and pull forces on recycled content to have a good impact, a significant impact on the recycling industry, to create markets for those products, offtake markets for those products. But on the other hand, there's a lack of information on amount and provenance of recycled contents to inform the procurement actions and the selection of suppliers and products. Without this verification, without this information, we can't measure that well the impact that we're having on the local recycling industry, so the impact of government intervention. So what we're hoping for on talking and accessing EU industry and innovators as a resource is that we'll get a solution that is a critical tool to support procurement and to facilitate that impact. So the Office of Climate Change proposed going out to you, to the innovators and experts, as I said, for a solution to trace and verify recycled content in materials, to support New South Wales government agencies to procure local recycled products. So a few of the things we would like to see in this solution is that it's cost effective, and that it can be a technology or a methodology for the traceability and verification. This challenge is agnostic, it's technology agnostic and methodology agnostic, but it should be sensitive to rising trends into the national market as well, because a lot of these users are actually going to fit in the national economy as well. And it should provide that reliability of information and for the traceability and identification and verification of recycled content. This solution would ideally translate into a commercial opportunity for the proponent, because as you can probably inferring from the way that I'm talking, this is a solution to that industry itself needs to implement and be on board with, so that the solution can impact procurement practices. And it should be operated independently. Our expectation is that it would be operated independently to the New South Wales government. So just to clarify what we mean by traceability and verification, what we mean is independent, so independent third-party accredited information on the recycled content of a product. The traceability aspect implies that it follows the material across the life cycle and several life cycles in succession, when materials get recycled over and over again. That it includes information on quality, on composition, and on the source of the recycled content. And through all of this, it demonstrates the chain of custody. The opportunities that we see here are manifold, and they kind of happen at different planes simultaneously. On the one hand, there's this opportunity for New South Wales government and to, this solution being out there for other jurisdictions to build confidence in the recycled market and therefore boost the circular economy. For the industry in adopting and being part of a solution like this, there's the opportunity to increase resilience to changing offtake market trends. For example, this fact that government agencies are trying to create and amplify this market is one such changes. But at the moment, there is this a lack of I don't want to call it industry readiness, but there's this lack of supply. The supply side feasibility to ensure that the demand is rolled out in the way that the market wants it to. And there's also this opportunity of this authorizing environment. I mentioned other jurisdictions in the national market. It's an evolving landscape. There's the Remade in Australia label and certification coming up as well. This could potentially, and I'm not saying it will, but it could potentially have a role in facilitating that as well. And these policy settings, everything added together, it suggests that this could be a growing market to adopt this solution. And we see, even without this type of effort, the market for sustainable products and sustainable activities is growing. And this could be a way to jump in on that wave as well. And thank you. Thanks again for being here. And yep, I'm open to answering any questions that I'm able to.
Thank you very much, Joanna. I think the first question, we do have one in the chat so far, is in regards to construction waste.
So if construction waste is a priority for this program, well, how do I put this? It is in the sense that we narrowed it, or we've identified materials. Some of those materials might come from construction waste. And one of the priorities is that through this program, by intaking the recycled content, that we also do it in a way that the construction waste that is generated, it doesn't become a problematic waste as well. But this isn't a waste avoidance program. There are other initiatives in the New South Wales Waste and Sustainable Materials Strategy that focus on reducing construction waste. This program has another priority around metabolizing and using the recycled resources that are already out there and having more of those coming back into the economy.
I see a question there that says, what should be included in the video? if this is the video on the application form does detail what is necessary, but in the short video, you must describe the solution and how it works, identify the end users and the market, and explain your plan for commercialization during that video. It's just another part of the assessment process that will be used to assist us in picking successful applicants. Joanna, there is a question here saying verification requires a whole of industry systems to make it work. What do you expect to make participation mandatory? Overseas manufacturers, question mark.
It's a very good question. I can't say we expect to make participation mandatory, but rather highly incentivized. For example, I can think of existing chain of custody frameworks like FSC, for example. To my knowledge, they're not mandatory for industry to participate in, but the fact that there is demand for products that are part of that framework, it incentivizes suppliers to be part of that framework. And in terms of the depth of the supply chain, kind of the same thing that we're seeing with other types of environmental accreditations, where it kind of flows up the supply chain, and the pressure and the incentive to participate gets passed on into upstream, so that information flows. But it is this information flowing and the participation and sometimes the hogging of information. It's a well-known barrier to all types of traceability and verification exercises.
Fantastic, thank you. May you release the current projects on this challenge. This will help people know what current status of projects and prevent repetition of application. For the SBIR program, it has just opened, and we have no projects yet on this challenge that have been accepted. It's a yearly grant program. Joanna, on your side, are there any current projects in this space that will affect what applicants will need to put in?
No, not really, but there are things that we ourselves are developing that should there should be mutual awareness of what's happening, and our goal would have to have as much as information and circulating between us and the applicants with any relevant development that could influence the challenge in the delivery of the solution.
Joanna, could you answer the question, what type of solution would demonstrate it would have a commercial potential outside of the Office of Energy and Climate Change?
Well, whatever solutions and proposals the industry puts forward, it's an essential nature of this solution that it's not for the Energy of Office and Climate Change to apply on its own, because we are facilitating and enabling this change in procurement practices in other agencies. So the solution would have to be tailored to the different types of procurement environments and procurement products or procured products in government agencies. So I don't think I mentioned this, but obviously in government, or maybe not obviously, but in government, New South Wales government, a big opportunity and a big focus point for us is construction, because that's where there's the highest volume and spend being invested in it at this point. But government buys all sorts of things, from stationery to toilet paper and landscaping materials, vehicles, trains. So there's a large range of applicability of products and industry participants and suppliers that this should be suited for.
And also, are there any known barriers to adoption that applicants should be attuned to?
Besides what I mentioned around the exchange of information, and that reluctance perhaps of building of suppliers to share and supply chain members to share information. I guess there's the element of cost, and that's why we've put some emphasis in the challenge statement on cost effectiveness. Because if the costs are prohibitive, we know from other types of initiatives like this that agency or the industry tends to shy from participating, and agencies might not be able to use the solution. I guess sometimes a bit of lack of information, and this comes, it's a bit anecdotal of our own experience, information around the topic and what we're trying to achieve, confusion around verifying what happens to operational or construction waste as opposed to the recycled content, which is where things come in, not go out. So I think for us, the key barriers that we've identified would be those three.
Fantastic, thank you. If anyone else has a question, please write it in the chat or maybe put your hand up as a reaction. Otherwise, I might say thank you all for coming. Thank you, Joanna, for your presentation, and thank you everyone for attending this webinar. As I said previously, the webinar will be available on the New South Wales SBIR website. A recording of this webinar will be available, as well as a transcript of the questions and answers in the coming days. If you need to ask any further questions, our contact email address is sbir@chiefscientist.nsw.gov.au. Thank you again, and wishing you all the best. Thank you.